Hey guys, Michael Kelly here with today's Sales Tips Daily 3. And again, I'm going to switch it up. I'm doing a little bit different content. Today I want to talk about, I was speaking with a sales pro the other day that was giving me some advice. As a lot of you guys know, in certain types of sales like cold calling and phone sales, you guys have what's called a takeover, or where someone of authority comes in and closes the deal or gives an incentive for the prospect or guest to actually buy the product if you have not sold them on it already. So when I was talking to that person, we were talking about the subject of the actual takeover, because that's what this guy does. And so often the process for the setup for the takeover actually is neglected and used poorly. You guys need to realize that if done correctly, that takeover will help you increase your sales, which is going to increase your income. So you're relying on that takeover to actually close the sale for you, to put money in your pocket. So it's very important that you understand the process of how this works. So I'm going to go over that a little bit today. And when I say the process, I mean during your pitch and presentation, you need to use discovery. A lot of discovery. And we've went over this before in other videos. Discovery is not just a set of 3 generic questions that you ask. Discovery is actually a series of questions where you find the wants, needs, and or problem that your prospect or guest is facing. So when I was talking to this pro, me and him were speaking about the fact that not a lot of salesmen, or sorry that I always use salesmen, I know there's a lot of saleswomen out there, so I'm not being sexist or anything, I just refer to it as salesmen. So if I say that, understand that I'm talking about everyone. But at the end of the day, the discovery is the first part that's the most important. The more information you can give to that takeover or to the closer that's going to come in and close the deal for you, the better position they are in to close the deal. If you have found out their wants and needs, and you know, obviously guys, you know what the person that's coming in to take over the call, what tools they have to use to close the sale. So you have to make sure that the objection that you're getting, which is the reason you're bringing in that takeover, is solvable by the tools that they have. This goes back to what we talked about the other day, saying, you know, if you have the best hammer in the world, the best screwdriver in the world, and the best wrench in the world, and I tell you to screw that screw into the wood, and you take the wrench and start beating on it, it's not the right tool for the right job. Although it's the best wrench in the world, it's not the best tool to screw a screw in a piece of wood. So you need to give the person taking the call over as much information as possible, and you have to make sure that first you find out their objection, repeat their objection, agree with them, isolate it. So what you want to do is say, okay, Mr. Johnson, so what you're telling me is that the only thing that's stopping you today is that you would want to speak with your spouse. As long as you can isolate that objection and make sure that's the only thing that's holding them back, then you're putting the TO in a good position to come in and close the deal, because then if that TO can solve that problem at the end of the day, then you're gonna win, because he can close the deal because he knows what the singular problem is. Now there's some fishing that needs to be done there. You have to make sure it's the real objection. And what you want to get is a positive tie down by saying something like, okay, Mr. Johnson, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you say that the only thing that's stopping you today from doing business on the call is that you would want to speak with your spouse. Yes. Okay, well, I totally understand that because I'm the same way. I get where you're coming from. And at the end of the day, your spouse needs to be happy with the decision that you make as well. So if I'm hearing you correctly, I understand that's the only thing that's stopping you. And if we can make this so that you know 100% that your spouse will be happy with the decision that you're making today, then you're at least going to keep an open mind to do business with us today on the call. Is that correct? Or right? Something like that. So what you want is that positive tie down, that agreement from them that if you can solve this problem, then they are going to do business with you. And if you don't get that positive tie down and you don't set it up correctly, then the takeover comes in at a disadvantage and it makes their job a lot harder, which makes the gap a lot wider from you actually getting the sale. So you need to understand that these people that are closing the deals for you, they're putting money in your pocket if you can set it up correctly. So it's very important to give them as much information as possible through discovery, find the real objection and isolate the objection, know the tools that your TO has to use, and make sure that the objection that is given can be solved with the tools that your closer has. And then at the end of the day, make sure that you get that positive tie down. If we can solve this today, you would take advantage of it, or you would at least keep an open mind like you have so far today. Right, Mr. Johnson? Alright, give me one moment. Let me see what I can do for you. And that's when you bring in the closer. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to work if they say, well, the reason is because I don't have enough zeros in my bank account. And you know the tools that your takeover has, so they're going to come in and TO it, and it doesn't matter what they give because they can't give them the money to put into their bank account. So guys, this is a process just like the pitch, just like everything else. When you're in a position or you do sales where there's the takeover process, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you are creating the setup in the proper format for the closer to come in and do their job properly. It should be very easy for them if you set it up the right way. Or it should be very easy for them to realize that this is an unsellable guest and it's over. There's no chance. But either way, put them on the path to be able to at least get the yes or no very quickly, because they're the ones that are helping you to put money in your pocket because they're closing the deal for you. So this process should really be thought out and very strategic by you, the salesman, because at the end of the day, if you can set that closer up real nice, I like to call it an alley-oop. When I'm, in basketball, you throw an alley-oop and the guy dunks it, it's the perfect pass to the perfect area so that the guy can grab it and put it in the hoop. So at the end of the day, that's how a good takeover is done. You're throwing the ball up right by the hoop so he can grab it, use his tool, which is dunking, and put it in the hole, which is closing the sale. So guys, I just want you to remember, think about it. Use the theory, use the psychology. At the end of the day, make sure the process is correct. Use discovery, find out what the wants and needs of your guests are, figure out what their problem is, and make sure that it's a solvable problem by the tools that your TO has. And then when you set it up, get a positive tie down from them. So, okay, Mr. Johnson, if I can make this happen, if I can solve your problem, then you would be open to doing business with us today on the call. Is that correct? So guys, I know this isn't for every sales process. What I do is a very short sales cycle, so we're getting the sale right there on the call. But this also might be helpful for longer sales processes in that final call where you're trying to close the deal. Because, I mean, even on long sales cycles, sometimes it takes a closer to come in from a point of authority to give a little extra attention to your guest or your prospect or your client, whatever terminology you want to use. Like, the closer can use the tools that they have to get you that deal. And then everybody wins. So just think about it a little bit more and make sure that you're throwing up that alley-oop instead of putting them at a disadvantage to where they might have a chance of closing. I'd rather have 8 out of 10 closes than put them in a position where maybe 2 out of 10 they can close it. If I know I have an 80% conversion with someone taking over and closing the deal, it's because I'm doing my job right and I'm setting it up correctly. So guys, one more time, quick recap. At the end of the day, make sure that you're setting it up properly. You've done your discovery. You found out the wants and needs of your prospect. You've figured out what their problem is. You've isolated their problem. You've known that the tools that your closer has can solve that problem. And then you get a positive tie down from your guest saying, okay, if I can get somebody to come solve your problem, you're gonna do business today, or you'll at least keep an open mind. It's pretty simple, guys, but it's something that we neglect a lot of times because a lot of people, you know, reach for the TO because they get stuck, or they're in a position where they've gotten hard no, hard no, hard no. And every once in a while, a really good TO can pull some sales out. But at the end of the day, you'll have a higher conversion rate if you do the process properly. It comes back to the process. So practice it, work on it, figure it out, think about it. It's important, guys, because you want to increase your sales. This whole thing, it's about increasing sales and increasing income. So I'm just trying to give you a little tip, a little advice that will help you to increase your sales and increase your income. Again, guys, you're on the channel right now. If you're watching the video, please like, subscribe. I'm going to put a link, the ABC. You'll see it. Click it, subscribe, like the video if you actually liked it. Click the thumbs up. Leave some comments. The comments fuel the content. And at the end of the day, go out and sell something. You guys have a good rest of your day, and thank you.